Well, hello again, everybody. Garrett here with Old Breed Outdoors, and welcome back to the Field to Table series here. It's been a few months, really the summer, since last time we made a video. When at least when I was wrapping up all of my food processing from the 2020 season. So here today, I am going to start the process of processing all of my 2021 deer meat. And today's project is going to be working on just regular old grind. So I use a lot of grind, which most people do, and what people don't realize is just how much grind you go through. So if you don't process your own stuff, and I would challenge you to take notes throughout the year of how much you use from different cuts. So that's something I started doing. I've always kind of paid attention to it, abstractly, but what I'm starting to do as of last year, and I'm going to keep on doing, is keeping track of the different cuts of meat that I have from the deer I process, and how many pounds of each of that I get. So in this case, what I did is I cut steaks, and then I weighed out all my steaks, got the total on that, and also keeping track of how many deer I harvested in any given year. So I know how many deer, I know how many steaks I got from those deer, how many roasts, backstrap, grind meat, so on and so forth. And then in this case, for processing ground meat, what I did is I broke it down. What is it that I have in the freezer, that I made last summer, that I don't need to make any more of this year, and what is it that I do need? So whether it be different types of sausage, hamburgers, just plain ground meat, whatever, it doesn't matter. What is it that I'm using throughout the year, and how much of it? So my point is that keep track of, even if you're just buying stuff from the store, beef or pork or whatever, keep track of what it is you have, so you kind of get an idea of how much you're using in any given year. For me, it's a gauge for, I don't buy red meat unless I absolutely have to. I don't buy pork unless I absolutely have to. So, the only thing we really buy is chicken and turkey. I try to make my main protein source, outside, being the venison, outside of chicken and turkey. So that being said, I kind of have a rough idea of what I need. I'm down to the last 1 pound package of ground meat that I processed, last spring and summer from the 2020, harvest. So I need to get busy. So today, what I'm going to do is just something extremely simple, and it won't take me a whole lot of time to do, is just plain ground meat, and I'll package into 1 pound packages. I'm doing 25 total pounds. I like to keep my stuff a little lean, so I'm using 22 pounds of venison, and then I have 3 pounds of beef fat. So if you have followed along the channel and you've seen what we put up from last year with our Field to Table series, you know I used exclusively beef fat last year because of availability and price. So I get this from a local butcher. Shout out to Old Town Butcher Shop in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I just got back from there today, picking up this year's batches of beef and pork fat. But I ended up using the beef fat last year, 99 cents a pound from this local butcher shop, and it's all locally sourced, sustainably raised, beef and pork. So if I'm going to have this good quality venison, I don't want to go buy something from a store down the road here. Who knows where that meat the fat came from, and you're not going to get this quality anyway. So, to me, I want to pair the two: good quality, locally sourced, fat from beef or pork, with my wild game harvest here with the venison in this case. So, anyway, I'm just going to do the 25 pounds, real lean mix here. I'm going to start with my coarse grind on both the beef, or I'm sorry, the beef fat and the venison. And then keep them separated, and then I'll do a fine grind on, I'll mix them and do a fine grind into the final product. That's the project for today. Pretty simple, 25 pounds. I'm hoping that that's enough to get me through the year. I try to do a lot of different things throughout the year instead of just my basic ground meat recipes and cube recipes or steaks and backstraps. I'm trying to really kind of branch out with what I do this year. Last year too, and then plans. I have a lot of plans for the coming years here, and really trying to expand my repertoire of wild game cooking. So stick around on the channel because there's a lot more to come. Chris is dabbling in some stuff, and then you know, I'll be doing some different things outside of just processing. The plan is to put some wild game recipes together. I've been kind of playing around in the kitchen here with some stuff, kind of working on my skill set, and we'll be bringing you guys some quality video in the process. But with that, I'm going to get busy here working. So when I'm butchering my deer, I'll get all of my prime cuts off for the steaks and back straps and roast and all that, and I take all of the scrap meat, if you will, and just big chunks and throw them in a gallon Ziploc bags and freeze them until I can get them back and work on them. So as I prep this for the grind day, what I like to do is just kind of partially thaw it. I'll take it out of the freezer, throw it in a cooler in the garage overnight. You know, it's February, so this time of year here in Virginia, it's still nice and cool. It was pretty cold last night actually. So this way, it's partially frozen still, and which for me, and a lot of people recommend this as well. I find that it's just much easier to handle when you're grinding. So I'll keep it partially frozen, and then as I go here, I'm just going to chop up into smaller pieces to make it a little bit easier to go through the grinder here throughout the process. So pretty simple. I'll get some pieces cut up here. There's some pieces that are already ready to go, but we'll start grinding. Okay, well, I got all of the venison ground up. Big old bucket there, 22 pounds. And now I've got my 3 pounds of beef fat that we're going to run through the grinder. Already cubed up and ready to go. So let's get to grinding. Alright, so what I've ended up doing, I took my 2 bins here. I picked these up this year. Awesome. If you're doing a lot of meat processing, get you some of these bins. But I've divided up my venison between the 2 roughly evenly. And now I'm just going to evenly disperse the beef fat in here so that I can just mix it up. I was going to use the meat mixer, but I figured this is a big giant batch, and this won't all fit in my mixer. And I'm not doing any seasoning or anything. This is literally just a small amount of beef fat mixed in with the venison. So I'm just going to keep it simple. No sense in making it a big giant project that doesn't need to be, just to say I used the meat mixer or whatever. Now that is something with when I'm doing sausage. I will definitely do that, and then I probably will do it when I make my hamburgers as well, because I like to mix some stuff in with the hamburgers. I'm going to do, and if you look back at the last year's episode of the bacon hamburgers, you'll see what I did there. I'm going to do something similar, but a slightly different variation this year, so keep an eye out for that episode as well. So there you have it. I've got the fat in here. Just going to use my spatula, mix this all around, get it nice and even. And this is another thing, like I was saying with doing the partially frozen. So as it goes through the grinder, it'll thaw out a little bit, at least give you that kind of consistency of a little bit better thawed. But what I find with ground, especially in the coarse grind part, is that it gets kind of mushy and like pasty. This with the coarse ground, with the partially frozen meat, you still have it very cubey, or more like pellets. It'd be the best way I could describe it. And I think it's easier to work with this way. So I'm going to get this all mixed up and get it ready to go back into the grinder. Well, I got it all mixed together, and that was super easy. Like I said, I divided between the 2 buckets here and mixed it up with the spatula, and that's just as good as it would have been with the mixer. So this worked out just fine. Pretty pleased with it. So now I've got the coarse plate on there, the fine plate on there, and we're going to get going on the fine grind. And just like that, you've got really nice looking ground meat. I mean, that's perfect. It's exactly what you want it to look like, and it looks like what you buy at the store. Alright, so I've got the fine grind done, got it all into the bucket here. Now it's time to package this all up. So I do it pretty simple. Well, may not be simple, but it's just how I do it. So 1 pound packages, obviously. Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want. For me, I do the 1 pound packages. So I wrap all my meat. I find it to be the best way for me. It's easier in a way, and I think that the longevity of the meat is much better this way. I do saran wrap for whether it be ground meat, steaks, whatever, with some freezer paper. And I just like the way it holds up. So I'm going to weigh out my 1 pound loaves to wrap up here. So I just got my food scale here. And I just lay out my saran wrap right on top of the food scale, and then start spooning some meat on here. Obviously, this is not rocket science, but this will take a little bit of time. I guess it could be a little tedious. I'll just slide this off the food scale, maybe. And then form this into a loaf that I can then wrap up. The key here really is just form a nice little loaf and get the air out as much as possible, which is why I like using the saran wrap, because on all kinds of meat, because you can kind of push it into little nooks and crannies, if you will. But I go end to end and then over the top. And just kind of push it and smush it a little bit as I go. There you go. Little loaf. And then I've got my paper. Go from the corner. And I go 1 roll. Fold it over. Another fold over. And then wrap it up. There you go. And then I'll tape this and write it on there. But that's 1 pound of ground meat. Go in the freezer. 24 more pounds to go. So there you have it, folks. I appreciate you guys following along today. I know this is kind of simple, but I've had people ask a lot of questions about this stuff, and last year I took it for granted, with the ground meat, that people just oh, this is simple. So I didn't do anything last year on how I do my ground meat. So I thought this year, why not share with everybody and how I do it, and maybe you do it a little different. If you do and have some suggestions, put a comment below and let us know. If you guys want to see some different stuff, as always, please leave a comment and let us know what you guys would like to see. If there's any kind of recipes that you're curious about on anything in particular, by all means, let us know. But as always, we sincerely appreciate you guys following along. Give us a like, we'd appreciate that. And as always, hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, pass it along to other people, and share our channel so that they can take a look at it, hopefully subscribe. But until the next episode on this Field to Table series, take care.